Thanks, Catherine, and thanks, Robert, too, for the opportunity to come along today and speak. Absolutely delighted to be here in terms of the audiences and the businesses who are engaged in this event today. Shona was just asking me when I sat down, she said, when I looked at my notes, she says, do you enjoy this bit of the job, coming to speak? So I must say, there's always a bit of trepidation when you have to come out here and stand and present a bit of nerves and stuff like that. But what I do enjoy, and what I'm particularly enjoying at the moment, is being able to come to events like this and meet with businesses. So I'm out with my sort of usual scope of waste companies. So apologies if there's anybody from the waste industry here. I am from the waste industry. I have 20 years, over 20 years in sort of waste and recycling, and I think it's fair for me to say this, and I include myself. We can be a bit of a doer bunch when we get together for events and conferences, and it sometimes takes quite a while for us to get going. So actually what I've really been enjoying in my role, particularly over the last couple of years, is getting out of speaking at waste events and speaking to other parts of the environmental eco sector, engaging in universities and businesses and innovators and entrepreneurs around, not just in Scotland, around the UK and beyond, and that's been really exciting for me, because I really do think that's what's changed in our role at Zero Waste Scotland. We were established as part of the Zero Waste Plan for Scotland in 2010. It's a kind of delivery body to drive forward Scotland's ambitions around zero waste and other resource efficient policy agendas or policy ambitions. But a lot of the work in the early days was very much about infrastructure in the here and now, sort of putting out recycling containers, getting people to recycle more, looking at business recycling and waste issues, very much in the here and now. But I'm not saying that job's done, we're still very much involved in that, but a lot more of our work is much more about engaging for the future, thinking about particularly what skills are needed in various sectors around the work that we do in resource efficiency, and particularly the circular economy, which I'll speak a wee bit more about, but also talking to businesses who, because it's recognition that we've done the, inverted commas, the low-hanging fruit in terms of recycling, but some of the challenges we have in terms of going to the next level, we really do need to step out of some of the sort of traditional, perhaps seen as traditional aspects of waste management and recycling, and really start to think about innovative ways of engaging with people, collection infrastructure, reprocessing, a whole range of things which needs new people, new innovators, new entrepreneurs coming to the table, and again, that's very much part and parcel of where we are now, is looking forward rather than staying in the here and now. So that's why I'm really, really delighted to be here today and supporting this event and meeting as many businesses as possible to talk about our work and how you might be able to support the work that we do at Zero Waste Scotland, but also how, more importantly, we can support your work and your ambitions. So I'm just going to say a few words about mainly circular economy. Before I do, it's probably worth me just mentioning two opportunities where we see innovation as well, and the Minister's already touched upon one of them. The Resource Efficiency Scotland programme, the RES programme that we run, is very much about, as the Minister said, working directly with businesses on the ground to become more resource efficient, which includes looking at recycling, includes looking at material inputs, but also looks at energy efficiency and water efficiency. And as I said, we work with over 30,000 businesses. It's a kind of two-pronged attack. We work with individual companies, obviously, but we also work with sectors, and that's another really key part of it. So working in Scotland with key sectors on some of the common challenges that they have as a sector. So, we obviously, an example would be we've done a lot of work with the whisky industry in Scotland, particularly looking at water efficiencies and trying to understand how they could potentially use less water through their systems, and also looking at how they heat their buildings. These are seen as common challenges for the industry, but if they could solve those and run those across the whole of the industry, they can see a big advantage for the whisky industry per se. So this is where you have a collaborative approach, and there's an opportunity for real innovation in terms of the broader sector. Another one we've done is for instance, is the dairy industry, looking at insulation in terms of refrigeration and stuff like that. So again, that's the dairy industry recognising that they have particular challenges around that in terms of energy inputs. So we're happy to work with them. So that's another real opportunity. We talked about street lighting. Alistair from the Glasgow Council spoke about that here in Glasgow. That's happening across Scotland, so there's a kind of, I wouldn't quite say changing of light bulbs right across Scotland. It's a bit more sophisticated than that, but that's a massive opportunity for new innovative designs of light stands, a real market pool for businesses here in Scotland to see an opportunity to innovate and to progress. And public buildings, etc. So it's working across the public estate on some of the common challenges. So we do see our role in that is to work with the key sectors, but to try and facilitate people like yourselves, businesses, innovators, other businesses who have got products and services that they think could actually help those key sectors. And our role, as I said, is to facilitate the dialogue. But there's a potential for us to pilot those ideas. So where there's an opportunity, a new technology or a new process, with those industries, we've run a number of demonstration projects or supported the piloting of things to show how those can be successful and then hopefully roll them out across the whole sector. So that's one of our roles. Obviously, working with individual businesses, 30,000 businesses is quite a large number. They're all doing something now. They're all beginning to either implement or certainly plan for implementation, and that's a key support package that we sort of provide them in terms of, talked about loan finance, we talked about interest-free loans. So one of the challenges that a lot of businesses have is access to finance. So I guess we're trying to say, well, we can solve that in terms of loan funds. We've also got an implementation program that will put capacity in. So another challenge for individual businesses is, well, we haven't got anybody that can actually run that project or help us install or whatever, or map out where the providers of the equipment that we're looking for. So we can put capacity into those businesses. But what they do need is bespoke solutions. That's what they also need. They need specific energy efficiency technologies or products for their business, and that's something that we can't provide. That's where the likes of yourselves can provide. So again, there's a real relationship there for us to work with you closely, to understand your services and your products and how we can actually get them into businesses. We will hopefully work with the businesses to give them capacity, but we do need that innovative solution. In terms of the more traditional waste, there is still some opportunities in sort of what we call recycling. I mean, although we've now got the recycling plug in here in Scotland in terms of both at home and in businesses, a lot more materials are being collected for recycling. One of our big challenges here in Scotland is the vast majority of those materials that are being collected, over 75% of them, are all exported out of our economy. They go south, they go east, they go to other parts of the world now. Okay, that's still good for our environment. This material that's not going to landfill. Our recycling rates are getting higher as we go, but the real economic opportunity is with those materials, and we're exporting them, and we're exporting them at low value. And there's a kind of rule of thumb, like for every one job in the collection of material for recycling, there's a further 8 jobs in the reprocessing, remanufacturing, and resupply of those materials back into the economy. And so we're kind of exporting those 8 jobs in the main. So there's a real opportunity for businesses to think about what we could do with those materials here. And some of that's about scale. We're still a small country. The amount of materials we take out for recycling is, in the sort of global supply chain, aren't a lot. So they're looking for niche solutions or small-scale solutions, looking for things that could be applied both here in Scotland, in the Central Belt, but also perhaps in the Highlands, that could really stimulate opportunities for those jobs in some of the other parts of Scotland out with the Central Belt. Obviously, one of our success stories that we've supported is Celtic Renewables, who, I'm not sure if they're here today. I know they were at the London event. I think they won something down in London. They did. They're going to try and win it again today. Are they going to try and win it again? All right, okay, that's the double then, is it? Great. That's an organisation that we've worked with because they've looked at what was a waste material coming out of the whisky industry and turning that into a very high value product by butanol. So that's an opportunity that we see both in terms of the commercial sector but also potentially in the household sector to actually realise some real benefits, economic benefits as well as environmental benefits from what we traditionally known as waste here in Scotland. Rather more recently, I just read about it yesterday, Impact Solutions, in terms of looking at plastics. One of the challenges that we have in the world of waste is how we separate different plastics. So they've been developing a technology to separate plastics. Some of the harder to recycle plastic, particularly black plastics, pots and trays and stuff like that. Now, okay, they've developed a technology which hopefully will be developed further at the testing stage at the moment, but that will hopefully help us here in Scotland separate our plastics out, right, and get higher value for them. So it's not just sending mixed plastics and getting a lower price, it's actually opportunity there, and that we can actually separate them out and get more value for the materials, both as an export, but more potentially that might attract inward investment in terms of reprocessing technologies for specific types of plastics, which has always been a challenge in the past. The circular economy, though, is probably is the new thing that we're all very excited about, particularly at Zero Waste Scotland, but across Scottish Government as well, and the agencies, Scottish Enterprise and Highland Islands Enterprise. It is really a cross sort of agency sort of programme we're beginning to develop around the circular economy. It is new. It's looking beyond what we're doing in recycling and resource efficiency. It's not just about recycling of materials back into supply chain. It is about designing that whole system approach. It's trying to design the way the materials flow here in Scotland so that we're not just collecting the stuff and then exporting it. We're actually trying to supply those materials back into our industry and our commerce here in Scotland in a different way. But at the heart of that is the products and the way that they're presented to market. So we need to start thinking seriously about what products, both in terms of the household and the commercial, business to business, how these things are being built. Even buildings we have to start considering the design of buildings and how they can be reused later in life, and the sort of like the whole sort of life cycle of that building, as well as all the products and services within it. So we need to start thinking seriously about designing differently. So this is designing products for durability, designing for repair, designing for remanufacturing, designing for disassembly so things can be repaired more easily, and designing for reuse. And that's all about innovation for us. That's something that, you know, waste management people, with every respect, they're not going to solve those sort of things. They can help because they can show the difficulties what you have when materials get to the end of life and, you know, end up in a skip somewhere. They can demonstrate the sort of like complexities of how materials are mixed together, and it's difficult to sort them. But actually we need innovators, we need new businesses to come on board and start looking at the products that are flowing through our economy and thinking about how they can be designed differently. And that's why we want to work with the likes of yourselves around this. This is a huge opportunity for Scotland. We've looked at the global, there's obviously some global numbers going about in terms of the trillions of dollars that could help develop the economy, the global economy. So we did some work about a year and a half ago, and we think possibly a conservative number, somewhere around 1 billion to 1.5 billion worth of economic opportunity for Scotland if we start to move towards a more circular economy, looking at key materials and key products. We're also doing some work at the moment with other partners to try and drill down to that number. That's a very macro number. We need to really understand what that looks like in terms of opportunities for key sectors, you know, in terms of remanufacturing, in terms of food and drink, in terms of oil and gas even. It's quite interesting. If I just refer to the question about storage, we're really interested in storage of energy as well, because one of the real opportunities we think in Scotland is around reprocessing and recycling of steel, steel that's coming off the North Sea during the decommissioning phase, which has now started and will go on for the next 20, 30 years. It's a real opportunity because that steel is being exported out of Scotland. Now the real challenge for us is we reinstate Ravenscraig or the like of that here in Scotland. There's going to be a huge, you know, increase in our CO2 emissions. So we really do need to understand how we could actually deliver something like an electric arc furnace powered by renewable energy. And to do that, we need to seriously think about how that could be deployed and stored, and storage is one of the issues that we need to address. So we're really interested in that as well. We're really interested in how we could actually support technology to look at storage. So that's a conversation I'd be really happy to have with you about what's out there, what's possible, and how we could actually get behind that type of thing. So it is about innovation for us. It is about working across with the sectors, but more importantly with new sectors. It's finding new partners. It's clear that you know, we can talk about the circular economy. As the Minister's already said, we're in the vanguard of this, particularly working with Netherlands and Denmark. It almost feels like a race sometimes to see who's going to get there first in terms of really becoming a hotspot, a circular economy hotspot here in Europe. And we're really at the forefront of it. But it's about turning that challenge, I guess, or you know, the challenge will be moving away from just talking about it to actually implementing it here in Scotland. And that's about businesses are key. We work already with businesses. We'll be working with more businesses, providing capacity and support to them and possible funding. Businesses want to do this. There's a growing appetite for it. But unlike other things, you can't do circular economy on your own. You have to work with your supply chain, both up your supply chain and down your supply chain. But more importantly, you need to collaborate with partners, universities, academics, experts, innovators, entrepreneurs, people who you wouldn't traditionally work with. You need to come in and actually help shape your business going forward. And that's something we're very keen to work with, to facilitate and to make the partnerships that we think are needed here in Scotland. So it is about working together, and that's why very much we welcome coming today to participate, to be part of it, and to learn and to share and to meet as many people as possible. And so I wish everybody well and all the best in terms of the businesses who are bidding, and hope to have some good conversations. Thank you very much.